Hello, my name is Susan Bissett. You may know me as Miss Susan, your piano fun at home teacher. I have a series of online piano lessons for students with special needs. But in this series, I'm going to start something new. I am inaugurating the Senior Talk series, where I am going to simply talk to seniors and take you down memory lane and discuss the items that are important to us. And I thought that what better way to begin this new series than to talk about my grandmother. My grandmother, her name was Lillian Minsky. She lived in a little town called Berlin, Wisconsin. That's where my mother grew up. And they had about an acre of land, I think. I was a little kid. It seemed like a huge, huge piece of land inside the town limits of Berlin, and they had their house and they had their garden, and they just had things that grandparents have. So I wanted to talk to you about my grandmother. We called her Marme. That was the name that she chose for us to call her. She got it from the Louisa May Alcott's book Little Women. The heroine character in there was called Marme, and she liked that name. She liked the book, and so that's what she chose for us to call her. And I'm remembering Marme right now. The biggest thing that reminds me of Marme are choral bells. And I'm making this video, this inaugural video, in my garden. And I've started with a shot of the choral bells. And these coral bells have been blooming for about a month now. They're past their prime, but I don't complain about anybody past their prime anymore. We all know what that is like. We send up your blossoms and you have the freshness and the gorgeous colors and the pink, and you just bloom your heart out. And you give everything, your heart and your soul, to all of those around you. And then at the end, the glory fades. Well, that's where we are right now, and isn't that where we all are right now? So I honor these choral bells, and I honor their beauty, and I honor the service that they have given to me in my garden for the last month or month and a half, however long it's been. And I just say thank you, choral bells, and thank you all those people out there who have given your hearts and soul in service of other people over all the years. And now we too are in our past prime age. But hey, we're still going strong. The reason that choral bells remind me of my grandmother is because they were all over her garden. I remember when I was a little kid. Of course, she's my grandmother, so she was old. Truth be told, she's probably about 10 years younger than what I am right now. But hey, I'm not old, are you? I'm still young, and I still have a lot of life ahead of me, and I still have a lot of energy. That's why I'm doing the YouTube stuff. But anyway, my grandmother was old. And her mother was still alive at the time of the story, and her mother, of course, was even older. Now, if Marme was born around 1902, then Grandma, her mother, had to be born, what, in the 1880s, 1870s, something like that. I don't know if they were the originals to come from Europe or if there was a generation ahead of them, but that was Grandma Spritka. Her name was Mary Spritka. And my mother's name is Mary, so that was very nice that my mother got to be named for her mother. And I'll tell you about my mom on a different video. She is 85 years young. She is still blessing this earth, and she will come visit me soon, and I will try to get her on the video on the YouTube so that you can meet her. Well, the reason that choral bells remind me of Marme is because when we used to visit them. Now, they lived in Wisconsin, but my mom and dad moved to Washington, D.C. So we only got to see them every other year. So every other year we would pile into the car and we would drive the 2-day drive to Wisconsin. And we got there, and of course you have your obligatory in the kitchen talking and eating and stuff like that. But very soon we would get to the garden. And Marmee would walk us all around the property, showing us her garden, showing us the things that she's been doing and all of her blossoms in their glory. And my mother would trek along right behind her, and she was so proud of her mother, and my sister and I, of course, being the girls, we had to trek along with the women folk. And I remember seeing the coral bells. God's honest truth was I wasn't at all interested back then. But here I am, a grandmother, and guess what I have in my garden? I have the coral bells. And these coral bells remind me of my grandmother, Marmee. For some reason, I've been thinking about her a lot lately, although she's been long dead. She's been dead probably, I don't know, 30 years maybe. But every spring, when my coral bells blossom, I think of Marmee. We would also go over to her mother's house, Grandma Spritka's house, and same old, same old. We would do the obligatory, having refreshments in the kitchen, and within a few minutes or so, we would be out in the garden. And what would be in Grandma Spritka's garden? Coral bells. So these coral bells mean a lot to me. They're a family heirloom, I guess you could say. Of course, my mother has coral bells around her house, and I look at them, and it just brings back the memory of the generation. Now, what I'd like to have you do is to comment, add something into the comments. Do you have a favorite flower that has special meaning to you and your family? Maybe you have, maybe roses really trigger a strong family memory. Or maybe it's something else. What else you see in a minute, I'll show you the lamb's ear that we have here in the garden. But I would like to hear your flower story, your flower memory, and how the flowers were to remind you of some good times in the past. I'd also like to hear how many of you can remember your grandmother. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about her. Maybe you remember your great-grandmother. I would love to hear stories about that. So, this is the inaugural, the kickoff version of the Senior Talk series. I have a lot of things to talk to you about. A lot of things are on my mind. Of course, we can talk about the flowers and mostly the memories. And later on, we'll be talking about other things like senior nutrition and pastimes and exercise and other things like that. But for today, my name is Susan Bissett, and I welcome you to my series of Senior Talk. I invite you to subscribe to this channel and to leave your comments below. So thank you very much for listening. This is Susan Bissett saying, have a blessed day. Now let me show you my garden. Here are some more coral bells. And now we've got here, these are the lamb's ear. They are attracting bees like you wouldn't know. There is a bee right there. I don't know if I can get close enough for you to see him or not. Just working that flower over. Earlier this morning when I was out testing the light, there was a hummingbird that visited this garden. There you see the rose crayons, and maybe in between you could see the pansies. I had high hopes for my pansies this year, but apparently they had plans of their own. And who are we to think that we can control the world? But this is my garden. These are my coral bells. I am viewing them with blessed memories of my grandmother, my great-grandmother, of course my dear and beloved mother, who is going to visit me next week, I hope. Here are some more of the lamb's ear. Up. Here's some more of our pansies that I had high hopes for, but anyway, there they are. There they are. Now, some of those things in the back that you call weeds, I put those in my salad. Yeah, there's a lot of weeds that you can eat. Got to be careful, though. So, anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this tour of the garden. Now that I'm retired, I do have time, and gardening is one of my pleasures. So here you go. Blessings to you from Virginia. Goodbye, and see you next time.